When Michael Jordan walked into Chicago Children's Hospital on April 16, 1996, he thought it would be just another boring charity visit. He was the greatest basketball player alive, and he figured he'd sign some autographs, take some pictures, and go home. But then he crashed into a 12-year-old girl carrying books about rocket science and black holes. Her name was Zara Chen, and she had an IQ of 230, higher than Einstein's 160. She looked like any other sick kid, but she was about to change Michael's life forever. What Michael didn't know was that this girl had been studying him for months. She knew his schedule, his personality, and exactly where he would be walking that day. Their accident wasn't an accident at all. But why would a dying genius spend her final weeks planning to meet a basketball player? And what secret was she hiding that would shock Michael Jordan and the entire world? Michael Jordan walked through the bright hallways of Chicago Children's Hospital, his famous sneakers squeaking softly on the clean floors. It was a Tuesday morning in April 1996, and he was tired. The Bulls had won another game last night, but all Michael could think about was the stack of papers waiting on his desk at home. He didn't really want to be here. His manager had set up this visit months ago, calling it good for his image. Michael knew he should care more about sick kids, but honestly, he just wanted to go home and sleep. Basketball season was almost over, and his body ached in places he didn't know existed. "Mr. Jordan, the children are so excited to meet you," said Mrs. Patterson, the hospital volunteer leading him down the hall. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. "Some of them have been practicing what they want to say to you all week." Michael forced a smile. "That's great. I'm excited to meet them too." But he wasn't excited. He was going through the motions, just like he did at most of these charity events. Sign some autographs, take some pictures, make the kids smile for a few minutes. Then he could leave and get back to his real life. They turned a corner near the pediatric wing when it happened. Crash! Michael walked straight into someone coming around the corner. Books went flying everywhere, papers scattered across the floor like snow, and a pencil rolled under a nearby bench. "Oh no, I'm so sorry," said a young voice. Michael looked down and saw a girl, maybe 12 years old, scrambling to pick up the mess. She had long black hair tied back in a simple ponytail and was wearing jeans and a purple sweater. What caught his attention wasn't how she looked, but what she was picking up. The books were huge. Advanced quantum physics, mathematical principles of natural philosophy, theoretical astrophysics, an introduction. These weren't books a kid should even be able to lift, let alone read. "Hey, don't worry about it," Michael said, bending down to help her. "I wasn't watching where I was going." As he picked up one of the books, he noticed something that made him stop. The margins were filled with handwriting. Not just notes, but complex equations and diagrams that looked like they belonged in a college classroom. "Are these yours?" he asked, holding up the physics book. The girl looked up at him for the first time, and Michael was surprised by her eyes. They were dark brown and seemed much older than the rest of her face. Like she had seen things that kids her age shouldn't have to see. "Yes, sir," she said quietly. "I was just going to the library to return them." "The library?" Michael stood up, still holding the book. "These are from the hospital library?" She nodded, gathering the last of her papers. "They have a really good science section. Better than most public libraries, actually." Michael opened the book to a random page. It was covered in equations he couldn't even begin to understand. But in the margin, written in neat handwriting, was a note that said, "This proof is wrong. Dr. Hawking missed the quantum implications. See correction below." "Did you write this?" Michael asked, showing her the note. The girl's cheeks turned pink. "I know it sounds crazy, but I think there's a mistake in chapter 12. I tried to work out the math, and it doesn't add up right." Michael stared at her. She was talking about correcting Stephen Hawking, like other kids talked about correcting their homework. "What grade are you in?" he asked. "7th grade, she said. "But I'm not here for school. I'm here for my little brother, Tommy." Mrs. Patterson had been watching the whole thing with wide eyes. "Oh my," she said. "You must be Zara Chen. I've heard the nurses talking about you. They say you're quite remarkable." Zara's face went red. "I'm not remarkable. I just like to read." Michael looked at the stack of books again. "You just like to read quantum physics?" It's actually pretty interesting once you get past the scary math, Zara said with a small smile. It's all about how the universe works at the tiniest level. Like, did you know that particles can be in two places at the same time until someone observes them? It's called superposition. Michael blinked. Particles can be in two places at once. Well, sort of. It's complicated. Zara's eyes lit up as she talked. But basically, reality isn't as solid as we think it is. Everything is probability until we look at it. Kind of like basketball, actually. Like basketball? Yeah. When you shoot the ball, it exists in all possible paths until it either goes in or misses. The act of shooting collapses all those possibilities into one reality. Michael had never thought about basketball that way, or thought about anything that way. Really. How old are you? He asked. 12. I'll be 13 next month. She paused. She stopped herself and shook her head. I'll be 13 in May. Mrs. Patterson looked confused by the pause, but Michael caught it. There was something in the way Zara said "if" that made his stomach feel funny. You said you're here for your brother? Michael asked. Zara's bright expression faded a little. Yeah, Tommy. He's 8. He's been here for 3 months now. Is he okay? He's getting better, Zara said quickly. The doctors are really good here. Dr. Martinez is amazing. She's been working really hard on Tommy's case. Michael noticed she didn't actually answer his question. What room is he in? Maybe I could meet him. Zara's whole face changed. The tired, worried look disappeared, and suddenly she looked like a normal 12-year-old girl. Really? You'd want to meet Tommy? He loves basketball. He has a poster of you on his wall. Well, he had one. Mom had to put it away because it made him too excited to sleep. Of course I'd like to meet him, Michael said, and he realized he actually meant it. Any brother of someone who can correct Stephen Hawking must be pretty special too. Zara laughed. Tommy's smart, but not like that. He's smart in different ways. He's the kindest person I know. He always shares his snacks with the other kids, even when he doesn't feel good, and he remembers everyone's names. Even the cleaning staff. That's a different kind of smart, don't you think? Michael looked at this strange girl who read physics books for fun and talked about her sick brother like he was a hero. Yeah, he said. I think you're right. They walked together toward the elevator. Mrs. Patterson trailing behind them, looking amazed. Can I ask you something? Zara said as they waited for the elevator. Sure. Do you ever get tired of being the best? The question caught Michael off guard. What do you mean? Everyone always talks about how you're the greatest basketball player ever, but does that ever feel heavy? Like you always have to prove it? Michael stared at her. In all his years of interviews and conversations, no one had ever asked him that. Yeah, he said quietly. Sometimes it does feel heavy. I thought so, Zara said. I can see it in your eyes. You look tired. The elevator doors opened and they stepped inside. You know, Zara said, as the elevator started moving, I don't have much time left to learn new things. But if I did, I think I'd want to learn about basketball from you. Not the technical stuff. I could probably figure that out from books. But the other stuff, the stuff you can't learn from reading. What kind of stuff? Michael asked. Zara looked at him with those old, wise eyes. How to keep going when everything hurts. How to be great when everyone is watching. How to win when losing would be easier. The elevator dinged at the 4th floor. This is us, Zara said. Tommy's room is down the hall. As they walked toward room 412, Michael found himself thinking about Zara's question. How to keep going when everything hurts. How to be great when everyone is watching. He had never thought of those as things he could teach. He had always thought of them as things he just had to survive. But maybe this strange, brilliant girl was right. Maybe there was more to learn and teach than he had ever imagined. Maybe this visit was going to be different after all. Michael followed Zara down the hospital hallway, noticing how the nurses smiled and waved at her like she was part of the family. She waved back, calling most of them by name. Hi, Miss Rodriguez. How's your daughter's soccer game going? She called to a nurse pushing a cart of medicines. They won 3-2. Thanks for asking, sweetheart, the nurse called back. Zara helped my daughter with her math homework last week, Miss Rodriguez explained to Michael. Calculus, in high school. This one's special. Zara's cheeks turned pink again. I just like helping. she said quietly. They stopped at room 412. Through the window, Michael could see a small boy lying in bed, coloring in a book. He had the same dark hair as Zara, but his face was thin and pale. "Tommy?" Zara knocked gently on the door. "I brought someone to meet you." The boy looked up, and when he saw Michael, his eyes went so wide that his coloring book fell off his lap. Oh my gosh, Zara, is that really—" "Hi, Tommy," Michael said, walking into the room. "I'm Michael." Tommy tried to sit up quickly, but winced. Zara was at his side in a second, helping him get comfortable. "Easy, buddy," she said softly. "Remember what Dr. Martinez said about moving too fast?" Michael watched how gentle Zara was with her brother. She fixed his pillows and handed him his water cup without him even asking, like she had done it 1,000 times before. "Mr. Jordan," Tommy said, his voice full of wonder. "I can't believe you're really here. I watch you on TV all the time." "Well, when I'm allowed to. Sometimes the games are too late." "Tommy stays up past his bedtime to watch basketball," Zara said with a smile. "I have to make deals with the nurses to let him." "What kind of deals?" Michael asked. "If I help the other kids with their homework, Tommy gets to stay up for the fourth quarter," Zara explained. "It's a fair trade." Michael looked around Tommy's room. The walls were covered with get-well cards from his classmates. There was a small bookshelf filled with picture books and a few of Zara's science books. On the bedside table was a chess set. "You play chess?" Michael asked Tommy. "Zara taught me," Tommy said. "She's really good. She beats everyone." "I wouldn't say everyone," Zara said modestly. "Yes, you do. You beat Dr. Martinez." "And she went to Harvard." Michael picked up one of the chess pieces. "How long have you been playing?" "Zara started teaching me when I got here," Tommy said. "She said chess would help me think about strategy instead of being scared." Michael looked at Zara. "Smart." "Tommy's the smart one," Zara said. "He learned all the moves in 2 days. It took me a week when I first started." They spent the next hour talking and laughing. Tommy showed Michael his coloring books and told him about the other kids on the floor. Michael found himself actually enjoying the conversation. These weren't fake smiles or forced politeness. Tommy was genuinely excited, and Zara was genuinely happy to see her brother happy. When visiting hours were almost over, Michael started to say goodbye, but Zara stopped him. "Mr. Jordan, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Everyone says you never back down from a challenge. Is that true?" Michael raised an eyebrow. "I guess." "Why?" "I have a challenge for you. But it's not about basketball." Tommy giggled. Zara loves challenges. She's always making up puzzles and games. "What kind of challenge?" Michael asked. Zara looked serious. "I want to teach you something that will make you better at basketball than you've ever been. But first, you have to prove you can learn like a beginner again." Michael was intrigued. "What do you mean?" "Most people think they know everything once they become good at something. They stop learning. They stop being curious. They stop growing." "And you think I've stopped learning?" "I think you're so good at basketball that you might have forgotten what it feels like to be bad at something, to struggle, to fail over and over until you finally get it right." Michael crossed his arms. "So what's the challenge?" Zara smiled. And for the first time since he'd met her, she looked like a mischievous kid. "You have to spend 1 week learning something completely new, something you've never tried before. Something that will make you feel like a beginner again." "Like what?" "I get to choose." Michael laughed. "You get to choose? That doesn't sound fair." "The best challenges aren't fair," Zara said. "They're just necessary." Tommy was bouncing in his bed with excitement. "Say yes, Mr. Jordan. Zara's challenges are always fun." Michael looked at this 12-year-old girl who corrected Stephen Hawking and made deals with nurses. She was staring at him with those wise eyes, waiting for his answer. "Okay," he said. "I accept. What do I have to learn?" Zara's smile got bigger. "Violin." "Violin?" Michael nearly choked. "You want me to learn violin?" "Yep. 1 week. I want you to learn to play one simple song. Nothing fancy. Just prove you can start from zero and build something beautiful." "Zara, I don't know anything about music. I can barely whistle." "Perfect," she said. "That's exactly the point." Michael looked at Tommy, who was grinning from ear to ear. "Your sister is crazy, you know that?" She's the best kind of crazy, Tommy said. She always knows what people need, even when they don't know it themselves. So do you accept? Zara asked. Michael thought about it. He had trained with the best coaches, worked with the smartest strategists, and learned from the greatest players in history. But he had never learned something completely outside his world, something that would make him vulnerable again. If I do this, he said, and I learn to play a song in 1 week, what do I get? You get to understand something about yourself that you didn't know before, Zara said. And I'll teach you the secret that will make you better at basketball. What secret? That's for after you learn the violin. Michael shook his head, smiling despite himself. You're not going to tell me what it is? Would you accept a challenge if you already knew the answer? She had a point. Fine, Michael said. I'll do it. But where am I supposed to get a violin? And who's going to teach me? There's a music teacher here at the hospital, Zara said. Mrs. Kim. She teaches the kids who are here for long stays. I already talked to her. She said she'd be honored to teach you. You already talked to her? What if I had said no? Zara shrugged. I knew you wouldn't. How did you know that? Because you're competitive and curious, and because deep down you know you need this challenge just as much as I need to give it to you. Michael stared at her. Why do you need to give it to me? For just a moment, Zara's confident smile faltered. She looked at Tommy, then back at Michael. Because I don't have much time left to teach people things, she said quietly, and I think you're someone worth teaching. Before Michael could ask what she meant. A nurse knocked on the door. Visiting hours are over, folks. Tommy needs his rest. As Michael said goodbye to Tommy, the boy grabbed his hand. Mr. Jordan, will you really learn violin for Zara? I promised, didn't I? Good, Tommy said. Zara keeps all her promises. She said she'd help me get better, and she has. She said she'd make sure I wasn't scared anymore. And I'm not. When Zara makes a promise, it always comes true. Michael looked at Zara, who was organizing Tommy's books on the shelf. I'll see you tomorrow, he asked her. Tomorrow's your first violin lesson, she said. Mrs. Kim is expecting you at 10 a.m. You're not going to be there. Oh, I'll be there, Zara said with a grin. I wouldn't miss watching Michael Jordan try to play violin for anything. As Michael walked out of the hospital, he found himself thinking about Zara's words. I don't have much time left to teach people things. What did that mean? She was only 12. She had her whole life ahead of her. Didn't she? Michael couldn't stop thinking about those words as he drove to the hospital the next morning. I don't have much time left. What did Zara mean by that? She was 12 years old. Kids that age had all the time in the world. Unless they didn't. He parked his car and walked through the hospital entrance, nodding to the security guard who recognized him from yesterday. As he took the elevator to the second floor, Michael realized his hands were sweating. When was the last time he'd been nervous about learning something new? Room 20 was at the end of the hall. Through the window, he could see a small Asian woman setting up music stands. She looked up when he knocked. Mr. Jordan, please, come in. I'm Mrs. Kim. She was probably in her 50s, with kind eyes and calloused fingers that told Michael she'd been playing music for a long time. Thank you for agreeing to teach me, Michael said. I have to warn you, I've never touched a violin in my life. Mrs. Kim smiled. Everyone starts somewhere. Even the greatest musicians played their first terrible note once. Where's Zara? She'll be here soon. She had to help Tommy with his morning routine first. Mrs. Kim picked up a violin case. But let's get started. The sooner you begin, the sooner you'll understand why Zara chose this challenge for you. She opened the case and lifted out a beautiful wooden violin. The wood was warm and golden, and it looked delicate enough to break if Michael breathed on it too hard. This is a violin, Mrs. Kim said. It's been making music for over 200 years. The person who made it put their heart and soul into every curve, every piece of wood. When you hold it, you're holding someone's life's work. Michael took the violin carefully. It was lighter than he expected, but felt incredibly fragile in his large hands. Now this is the bow. Mrs. Kim handed him a long stick with white horsehair stretched along it. The bow is what makes the violin sing. Without it, the violin is just a pretty piece of wood. How do I hold it? Like you're holding a baby bird, firm enough that it won't fall, gentle enough that you won't hurt it. Michael tried to position the violin under his chin like he'd seen in movies. It felt awkward and unnatural. The chin rest was too small. and his neck felt twisted. "This is uncomfortable," he said. "Good," said a familiar voice from the doorway. If it was comfortable, it wouldn't be a challenge. Zara walked in, moving slower than yesterday. She looked tired, but she was smiling. "How's Tommy this morning?" Michael asked. "Good day today," Zara said, settling into a chair. "He ate his whole breakfast and asked if you were really going to learn violin. I told him you were about to find out how hard it is." Mrs. Kim adjusted Michael's posture, moving his arm and repositioning the violin. "Better. Now try to draw the bow across the strings." Just one smooth motion. Michael dragged the bow across the strings. Screech! The sound was horrible. Like a cat being squeezed. Michael winced, and Zara burst into laughter. "That was beautiful," she said, clapping. "Your first note. How did it feel?" "Terrible," Michael said. "I sound like I'm torturing the violin." "Everyone's first note sounds like that," Mrs. Kim said patiently. "The violin is honest. It tells you exactly how you're feeling. Right now, you're feeling frustrated and tense. How can you tell?" "Because that's how the violin sounds. Frustrated and tense." Michael tried again. Screech! "You're pressing too hard," Zara said. "In basketball, you use force. But violin is about finesse." "What do you mean?" "Show me how you shoot a basketball," Zara said. Michael looked around the small room. "Here, just the motion. Pretend you have a ball." Michael went through his shooting motion. Smooth, practiced, perfect. He'd done it thousands of times. "See how relaxed your shoulders are?" Zara pointed out. "How your wrist snaps softly at the end. That's finesse. You're not forcing the ball into the basket. You're guiding it." "The violin is the same," Mrs. Kim added. "You don't force music out of it. You guide it." Michael tried again, thinking about his basketball shot. This time, the screech was slightly less horrible. "Better," Zara said. "I could almost hear music in there somewhere." They spent the next hour working on just holding the violin properly and making smooth bow strokes. Michael made progress, but it was painfully slow. Every note was a struggle. His neck hurt, his shoulder ached, and his fingers felt clumsy and thick. "This is harder than I thought it would be," Michael said during a break. "Most things worth doing are," Mrs. Kim said. "That's why so few people stick with them. In basketball, if I practice something for an hour, I can usually see improvement," Michael said. "This is different." "How is it different?" Zara asked. Michael thought about it. "In basketball, my body knows what to do. The movements feel natural. This feels like I'm fighting against myself." "That's because you are," Zara said softly. "You're fighting against the part of you that needs to be perfect all the time. The part that's afraid to look foolish." "I don't mind looking foolish." "Yes, you do. You hate it. I can see it in your face every time you make a bad sound." Michael realized she was right. Every time the violin screeched, he felt embarrassed. Even though there were only 2 other people in the room, he felt like he was failing in front of an audience. "Why does that matter?" he asked. "Because learning requires you to be bad at something first," Zara said. "Really bad. Embarrassingly bad. And you haven't been embarrassingly bad at anything in a very long time." Mrs. Kim nodded. "When children learn violin, they don't worry about sounding bad. They just play. But adults are afraid of not being good right away." "But I'm not afraid of hard work," Michael protested. "No," Zara agreed. "You're not afraid of hard work. You're afraid of looking weak. There's a difference." Michael stared at her. "How do you know that?" "Because I've been watching you. Yesterday, when you helped me pick up my books, you were embarrassed that you didn't understand them. Just now, when you made your first bad note, you looked around to see if anyone was judging you. That's normal, isn't it? For most people, yes. But not for someone who wants to be truly great." "What do you mean?" Zara leaned forward in her chair. "Truly great people aren't afraid to be beginners. They're not afraid to look silly or make mistakes. They know that being bad at something is just the first step to being good at it." "And you think I'm afraid of that?" "I think you've been the best for so long that you've forgotten what it feels like to be worst." Michael picked up the violin again. "So what do I do about it?" "You play," Zara said simply. "You make terrible sounds. And you don't care. You let yourself be bad until you're ready to be good." Michael positioned the violin under his chin and drew the bow across the strings. Screech! But this time, instead of wincing, he smiled. "There," Zara said, clapping. That's the sound of someone who's not afraid to learn. Michael played another note. Still terrible, but somehow it felt different. Lighter. You know what I realized, he said. What? I haven't felt this challenged in years. In basketball, I know I can make almost any shot. But this, I have no idea if I'll ever be able to make this thing sound good. How does that feel? Mrs. Kim asked. Michael thought about it. Scary, but also exciting. Good, Zara said. Fear and excitement are the same feeling. The only difference is whether you run toward it or away from it. As the lesson ended, Michael found himself not wanting to leave. Yes, the violin was frustrating. Yes, he sounded terrible, but there was something addictive about the challenge. Same time tomorrow? Mrs. Kim asked. Definitely, Michael said. But Zara, can I ask you something? Sure. Why is this so important to you? Why do you care if I learn violin? Zara was quiet for a long moment. She looked out the window at the parking lot below, where people were going about their normal lives. Because, she said finally, I think you're going to need to remember this feeling someday. The feeling of being a beginner, of not knowing if you can do something, of having to trust the process instead of controlling it. Why would I need to remember that? Zara looked at him with those old, wise eyes. Because the biggest challenges in life aren't the ones where you already know you can win. They're the ones where you have to learn to be okay with not knowing how the story ends. As Michael walked back to his car, he found himself thinking about Zara's words. The biggest challenges were the ones where you didn't know how the story ended. He looked back at the hospital, wondering what challenges Zara was facing that he couldn't see, and why she seemed so determined to teach him lessons he didn't even know he needed to learn. 3 days later, Michael walked into the music room carrying his violin case. He had been practicing every morning in his garage, much to his neighbor's horror. The screeching sounds had gotten slightly better, but only slightly. Mr. Jordan, Mrs. Kim smiled as he entered. You look tired. I stayed up until midnight trying to play that scale you taught me, Michael said, setting down his case. I think I drove my cat crazy. You have a cat? Zara asked from her usual chair. She looked paler than yesterday, and Michael noticed she was wearing a hospital bracelet that she hadn't had before. Yeah, his name is Max. He used to love sitting in my lap, but now he runs away every time he sees the violin case. Zara laughed, but it sounded weaker than usual. Smart cat. Are you feeling okay? Michael asked, sitting down across from her. Just tired. Tommy had a rough night, so I didn't sleep much. Michael had learned over the past few days that Zara slept in Tommy's room most nights. The nurses had tried to give her a proper bed in another room, but she refused to leave her brother's side. Let's hear your practice, Mrs. Kim said. Michael took out his violin and played the simple scale they had been working on. It wasn't beautiful, but it was recognizable as music. No cats would be harmed by this performance. Much better. Mrs. Kim clapped. You're starting to trust the instrument. It's weird, Michael said. I'm beginning to understand what you meant about the violin being honest. When I'm tense, it sounds tense. When I relax, it sounds better. That's exactly right, Zara said. The violin can't lie. It shows everyone exactly what you're feeling inside. Is that why you chose this challenge? To teach me about being honest? Zara was quiet for a moment. Play that scale again, but this time don't think about the notes. Think about Tommy. Think about Tommy? Yeah. Picture his face when he laughs. Play for him. Michael positioned the violin and drew the bow across the strings. This time, he thought about Tommy's excited expression when they had talked about basketball. The way his whole face lit up despite being sick. The way he shared his snacks with other kids, even when he barely had an appetite himself. The music that came out was different. Softer, warmer, still not perfect, but it had something it hadn't had before. Beautiful, Mrs. Kim whispered. How did that feel different? Zara asked. It felt, I don't know, like the music meant something. That's the real lesson, Zara said. Technical skill is just the beginning. The magic happens when you play for someone else instead of for yourself. Michael lowered the violin. Is that what you're trying to teach me? To play for other people? I'm trying to teach you that greatness isn't about being the best. It's about making others better. Before Michael could respond, there was a knock on the door. Dr. Martinez, a woman with kind eyes and graying hair, peeked in. Sorry to interrupt, Zara, could I speak with you for a moment? Zara's face went pale. Is Tommy okay? Tommy's fine. I need to talk to you about your test results. Can't it wait? I'm in the middle of a lesson. Dr. Martinez looked at Michael, then back at Zara. It's important, sweetheart. Michael watched Zara's hands shake slightly as she stood up. I'll be right back, she told him. But 20 minutes passed, and Zara didn't come back. Michael and Mrs. Kim waited, making small talk about music and basketball. Finally, Michael couldn't stand it anymore. I'm going to check on her, he said. He found Zara and Dr. Martinez in a small office down the hall. Through the slightly open door, he could hear them talking. The treatment isn't working as well as we hoped, Dr. Martinez was saying gently. Your numbers are still declining, but Tommy's numbers are getting better, right? Zara asked. Yes, Tommy is responding well. But Zara, we need to focus on you too. Tommy comes first. He's only 8. He has his whole life ahead of him. So do you. You're 12 years old. Michael heard Zara sigh. Dr. Martinez, we both know that's not true. Tommy has a much better chance than I do. The experimental treatment works better for younger patients. Every resource we spend on me is a resource we're not spending on him. Michael felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. He leaned against the wall, trying to process what he was hearing. Zara, you can't think like that. I'm not being negative, I'm being logical. I've read all the research papers. I know the statistics. Tommy has a 70% chance of full recovery. I have maybe 30%. Maybe less. Michael's legs felt weak. He slid down the wall until he was sitting on the floor. That doesn't mean we give up on you, Dr. Martinez said. I'm not giving up. I'm just being realistic about my priorities. I want to spend whatever time I have left making sure Tommy gets better. And maybe teaching some other people some important things. Michael realized she was talking about him. After a few more minutes, he heard chairs scraping. He quickly stood up and pretended to be looking at artwork on the wall. Zara came out of the office with red eyes but a determined expression. When she saw Michael, she stopped. How long have you been standing there? Long enough, Michael said quietly. They walked back to the music room in silence. Mrs. Kim had packed up the instruments and left a note saying she would see them tomorrow. Zara, Michael said as they sat down in the empty room. Why didn't you tell me? Tell you what? That you're sick too. That you're a patient here, not just a visitor. Zara looked down at her hands. Because it doesn't matter. Of course it matters. No, it doesn't. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing it for Tommy. And for you. For me? Why? Zara looked up at him with those wise, tired eyes. Because you have something most people don't have. You have a platform. Millions of people listen to you, watch you, care about what you do. So you can teach them what I'm trying to teach you, that real greatness isn't about personal achievement. It's about lifting other people up. Michael felt tears stinging his eyes. But what about you? What about your dreams? Your future? My future is making sure Tommy has a future. My dream is that he grows up knowing how much he's loved. Zara smiled through her own tears. And maybe my dream is also that the greatest basketball player in the world learns that his real superpower isn't his jump shot, it's his heart. Zara, Mr. Jordan, can I tell you something? The night I met you, I had been praying for a sign. I was so scared about Tommy, and I felt so alone. Then you bumped into me in that hallway, and you actually stopped to help. You didn't have to do that. You could have just kept walking. Anyone would have helped. No, they wouldn't have. Most people see a kid with a pile of books and they think, smart kid, she's got it figured out. But you saw me, really saw me, and you cared enough to ask questions. Michael remembered that moment, how something about Zara's eyes had made him want to know more. That's when I knew, Zara continued. I knew you were someone worth teaching. Someone who could take this lesson and share it with the world. What lesson? That intelligence isn't about how much you know. It's about how much you care. That strength isn't about what you can do for yourself. It's about what you can do for others. Michael reached over and took Zara's small hand in his large one. How long do you have? Dr. Martinez thinks maybe 2 months, maybe a little more if I'm lucky. And Tommy? Tommy's gonna be fine. The treatment is working for him. In 6 months, he'll be able to go home and be a normal kid again. Michael squeezed her hand gently. What can I do? Keep learning violin. Keep letting yourself be bad at something. Keep remembering what it feels like to need help. Why is that important? Zara smiled, and for a moment she looked like the brilliant, mischievous 12-year-old she was supposed to be. Because someday you're going to meet someone who needs help learning something. And you're going to remember how patient Mrs. Kim was with you, how it felt to struggle and have someone believe in you anyway. And you're going to pass that kindness on. Michael sat there holding the hand of the bravest person he had ever met. A 12-year-old girl who was using her final months to teach him how to be human. Zara? Yeah? Thank you. For what? For choosing me. For thinking I was worth teaching. Zara squeezed his hand back. Mr. Jordan, you were never the student in this story. You were always the teacher. I'm just helping you remember what you already knew. As they sat together in the quiet music room, Michael realized that everything had changed. This wasn't about learning violin anymore. This was about learning how to live. The next morning, Michael arrived at the hospital earlier than usual. He had barely slept, his mind spinning with everything Zara had told him. He found her in Tommy's room, helping her brother eat breakfast. Tommy was sitting up in bed, looking brighter than Michael had seen him yet. Mr. Jordan, Tommy called out when he saw him. Guess what? My white blood cell count is getting better. Dr. Martinez says I might be able to go to the playroom today. That's amazing, buddy, Michael said, ruffling Tommy's hair. But his eyes were on Zara, who looked exhausted despite her smile. Zara barely slept, Tommy said, not noticing the look that passed between the adults. She was up all night reading medical journals again. She always does that when she's worried about something. I wasn't worried, Zara said quickly. I was just curious about the new treatment protocol. Michael sat down in the chair next to her bed. Zara, can I ask you something? Sure. Yesterday you mentioned that you've been accepted to MIT. When did that happen? Zara's cheeks turned pink. A few months ago, they have a special program for gifted students. I could start in the fall. MIT, Tommy's eyes went wide. Zara? That's the smartest school in the world. You have to go. It's not that simple, Tommy, Zara said gently. Why not? Michael asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Because Tommy will still be in treatment, and because, she paused, looking at her brother, because there are more important things than being smart. But you could discover amazing things, Tommy protested. You could help sick kids like us. You could find cures. Michael watched Zara's face carefully. For just a moment, he saw longing there, the look of a brilliant kid who dreamed of laboratories and equations and changing the world. Maybe someday, she said softly. But right now, the most important thing is being here with you. After Tommy finished breakfast, a nurse came to take him for his morning tests. When they were alone, Michael turned to Zara. You're not going to MIT, are you? Zara shook her head. I already sent them a letter declining the offer. Zara, you can't do that. This is your future we're talking about. No, she said firmly. Tommy's future is what we're talking about. He's 8 years old. He needs his big sister right now, not some genius who's off studying at college. But think about all the things you could learn there. All the ways you could help people. I'm helping people right here. I'm helping Tommy get better. I'm helping you learn about what really matters. Michael felt frustrated. But what about your dreams? My dreams changed when Tommy got sick, Zara said simply. Before, I wanted to be a scientist. I wanted to understand how the universe worked, but now I understand something more important. What's that? Love is more powerful than knowledge. Being there for someone is more important than being brilliant. Michael stared at her. Zara, you're 12 years old. You shouldn't have to choose between your future and your family. Everyone has to make choices, Mr. Jordan. The difference is that some people get more time to make them than others. They sat in silence for a moment. Michael thought about all the choices he had made in his life. Most of them had been about making himself better, stronger, more successful. When had he ever made a choice that put someone else's needs before his own dreams? Can I tell you something? Zara asked. Of course. When I first got sick, I was angry. Really angry. I had so many plans. I was going to study quantum physics and maybe win a Nobel Prize someday. I was going to solve the mysteries of the universe. That sounds amazing. It was amazing. In my head anyway. But then Tommy got sick too, and I realized something. All those mysteries I wanted to solve, they don't matter if the people you love are suffering. Michael felt something tight in his chest. So you gave up your dreams? No, I changed them. My new dream is that Tommy grows up healthy and happy. My new dream is that he gets to have all the adventures I might not get to have. What about you, though? What about what you want? Zara smiled, and it was the most peaceful expression Michael had ever seen on her face. I want Tommy to be okay. I want to spend whatever time I have left making memories with him. And I want to teach a few important lessons to people who can carry them forward. Like me, like you. Mr. Jordan, do you know what the most beautiful thing about quantum physics is? Michael shook his head. It's the idea that particles can be entangled. When two particles become entangled, what happens to one instantly affects the other, no matter how far apart they are. Scientists call it spooky action at a distance. I don't understand. Love works the same way. When you love someone, you become entangled with them. What happens to them affects you, no matter how far apart you are. When Tommy hurts, I hurt. When he gets better, I get better too. Michael thought about his own family, his friends, his teammates. I think I understand. That's why I can't leave him. We're entangled. And that's okay, because love isn't supposed to be convenient. It's supposed to be true. The door opened, and Tommy came back with a huge smile on his face. Dr. Martinez says my numbers are the best they've been in months. And she says I can go to the playroom this afternoon. That's wonderful, Zara said. And Michael could see genuine joy in her eyes. Will you come with me? Tommy asked his sister. Of course I will. What about you, Mr. Jordan? Do you want to come to the playroom too? Michael looked at Zara, who nodded encouragingly. I'd love to, buddy. That afternoon, Michael found himself in the hospital playroom, watching Zara help Tommy build a puzzle while other kids played around them. She was patient and encouraging, celebrating every piece Tommy got right and gently guiding him when he got stuck. Zara's the best big sister in the world, said a little girl with a bald head who was coloring nearby. She helped me with my math homework yesterday, and she always shares her snacks. She taught me how to play chess, added a boy with his leg in a cast. And she never gets mad when I make dumb moves. Michael watched Zara blush at the compliments. He realized that while he had been thinking of her as the girl who was giving up MIT, everyone else saw her as the girl who was always there to help. You know what I realized? Michael said to Zara as they watched Tommy successfully complete a difficult section of the puzzle. What? You're not giving up your future, you're just choosing a different one. What do you mean? I mean, you wanted to change the world through science, but you're changing the world through love. You're teaching Tommy how to be brave. You're teaching me how to be human. You're showing all these kids what it means to care about other people. Zara looked around the playroom at all the children she had helped over the past few months. I never thought about it that way. Maybe that's the real lesson, Michael said. Maybe being smart isn't about having all the answers. Maybe it's about asking the right questions. What's the right question? Michael watched Tommy's face light up as he placed another puzzle piece. Not how can I be great, but how can I help someone else be great? Zara smiled. I think you're finally starting to understand. Understand what? Why I chose you to teach. You already had the biggest heart. You just needed to remember how to use it. As they sat there, surrounded by sick children who were laughing and playing despite everything they were going through, Michael felt something shift inside him. For the first time in his life, winning championships didn't seem like the most important thing in the world. Making sure kids like Tommy and Zara felt loved and supported, that seems like the most important thing in the world. Zara? Yeah? Thank you for showing me what real strength looks like. What does it look like? Michael looked at her, a 12-year-old girl who had given up her dreams to take care of her little brother, who was using her final months to teach life lessons to a famous athlete, who was facing the greatest challenge imaginable with grace and wisdom. It looks like you, he said. The next morning, Michael woke up with an idea that wouldn't leave him alone. He made some phone calls, pulled some strings, and by afternoon, he was walking into Tommy's room with his entire Bulls starting lineup behind him. Tommy, Michael said, trying to contain his excitement, I brought some friends to meet you. Tommy looked up from his coloring book and nearly fell out of bed. Standing in his doorway were Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Steve Kerr, and the rest of the Chicago Bulls. "No way," Tommy whispered. "No way, no way. We heard there was a pretty special kid here who needed a team captain for our next practice," Scottie said with a grin. Dennis Rodman, his hair bright green that week, sat down on Tommy's bed. "So what do you say, Captain? You want to help us run some plays?" Tommy looked at Zara, who was sitting in her usual chair by the window. She was smiling, but Michael noticed she looked more tired than yesterday. The treatments were getting harder on her. "Is this real?" Tommy asked his sister. "It's real, buddy," she said softly. "Mr. Jordan arranged all this just for you." Michael had brought a miniature Bulls uniform in Tommy's size, complete with the number 23 and Captain Tommy on the back. When Tommy put it on, he looked like the happiest kid in the world. "Can Zara come too?" Tommy asked. "She's the one who taught me everything about basketball strategy." "Strategy?" Steve Kerr raised an eyebrow. "What kind of strategy?" "Show them, Zara," Tommy said excitedly. Zara looked embarrassed. "Tommy, they don't want to hear about." "Yes, we do," Michael said. "Show us." Reluctantly, Zara pulled out a notebook filled with diagrams and equations. "I was just trying to understand the mathematics of basketball. Like, what's the optimal angle for a free throw? How does physics affect shooting percentage from different distances?" Scottie looked over her shoulder at the complex calculations. "This is incredible. You figured all this out yourself?" "It's just math," Zara said, blushing. "Everything in the universe follows mathematical patterns. Even basketball." "Even basketball," Dennis repeated, shaking his head in amazement. "Kid, you're going to change the world someday." Michael saw Zara's smile flicker for just a moment. "Maybe," she said quietly. They spent the next 2 hours in the hospital's small gymnasium. Tommy, wearing his captain uniform, helped demonstrate plays while Zara explained the mathematical principles behind each strategy. The Bulls players were amazed by her insights and Tommy's enthusiasm. "You know what's funny?" Steve Kerr said to Michael as they watched Tommy try to teach Dennis Rodman about proper shooting form. "That kid knows more about the game than some players I've met." "His sister taught him well," Michael replied. "She's something special, isn't she? I've never met a 12-year-old who understands advanced physics and basketball strategy." Michael watched Zara helping Tommy adjust his shooting stance. She was being patient and encouraging, just like always, but he could see the exhaustion in her movements. "Yeah," he said. "She's the most special person I've ever met." When it was time to leave, Tommy didn't want to say goodbye. "Can you come back tomorrow?" he asked the team. "We have a game tomorrow night," Scottie explained. "But how about this? You're officially our honorary team captain now. That means we'll dedicate every game to you for the rest of the season." "Really? Really? And after we win the championship, we're bringing you the trophy to see." Tommy's eyes filled with happy tears. "Zara, did you hear that? They're going to bring me the championship trophy." "I heard, buddy," Zara said, hugging him tight. "That's amazing." As the team started to leave, Michael hung back. He wanted to talk to Zara alone, but she looked so tired he wasn't sure she could handle a serious conversation. "Mr. Jordan," she said softly, "can I tell you something?" "Of course. Today was the best day Tommy's had since he got sick. Thank you for giving that to him. Thank you for teaching me that some things are more important than winning games." Zara looked out the window at the parking lot where the Bulls players were getting into their cars. "Do you really think you can win the championship this year?" "We have a good shot." "Why?" "Because I won't be here to see it." The words hit Michael like a punch to the chest. "Zara, I had another meeting with Dr. Martinez this morning. The treatment isn't working for me. I have maybe 6 weeks left." Michael felt the room spinning. 6 weeks? Maybe 8 if I'm lucky, but probably 6. What about experimental treatments? What about other doctors? I have money, I can... "Mr. Jordan," Zara said gently, "I've read every research paper published in the last 5 years. I've consulted with the best doctors in the country. Sometimes, even being smart isn't enough." Michael sank into the chair next to her. "I can't accept that." "You have to. Because I need you to do something for me. Anything. I need you to take care of Tommy after I'm gone. Not financially. My parents will handle that. But emotionally. He's going to need someone to remind him that he's brave and strong and capable of anything." "Zara, don't ask me to." "Promise me," she said firmly. Promise me you'll be the big brother he needs when I can't be his big sister anymore." Michael looked into her eyes and saw something that broke his heart. She wasn't scared. She was peaceful. She had accepted what was happening and was focused on making sure everyone she loved would be okay. "I promise," he whispered. "Good. Now can I tell you something else?" "What?" "The reason I really chose violin for your challenge?" Michael had almost forgotten about the violin lessons in the midst of everything else. "Yeah, it's because a violin can't make music by itself. It needs someone to touch it, to care for it, to bring it to life. No matter how perfect the instrument is, it's just wood and strings, until someone decides to make it sing." "I don't understand. People are like violins, Mr. Jordan. We can't make beautiful music alone. We need each other. Tommy needs me to help him be brave. I need you to help me teach him about strength. You need us to help you remember what really matters." Michael felt tears running down his face. "I don't want to lose you. You're not going to lose me. Every time you help a kid who's scared, I'll be there. Every time you choose kindness over winning, I'll be there. Every time you remember that love is more powerful than fame, I'll be there." She reached over and took his hand. "Besides, you still have to finish learning violin. Mrs. Kim says you're almost ready to play a real song." "What song?" "Amazing Grace. It's Tommy's favorite. I want you to play it for him after I can't anymore." Michael squeezed her hand. "I'll practice every day." "I know you will, because that's what you do when you love someone. You keep the promises you make to them." They sat together in the quiet room as the sun set outside the window. Michael realized that Zara had given him something more valuable than any championship ring or MVP award. She had given him a purpose bigger than himself. "Zara?" "Yeah?" "When people ask me about my greatest victory, I'm not going to tell them about basketball games." "What are you going to tell them?" "I'm going to tell them about a 12-year-old girl who taught me that winning isn't about beating other people, it's about lifting them up." Zara smiled, and even though she was tired and sick, she looked like the wisest person in the world. "Now you're ready for the real game," she said. "What real game?" "The game of life. And in that game, Mr. Jordan, everyone wins when you play it right." 2 weeks later, Michael was sitting in the hospital cafeteria, staring at a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. The Bulls had just won another playoff game, but he could barely remember the score. All he could think about was how pale Zara had looked that morning, and how Tommy had started asking questions that no 8-year-old should have to ask. "Mr. Jordan?" Michael looked up to see Dr. Martinez standing next to his table. She looked tired and sad, which immediately made Michael's stomach clench with worry. "Is everything okay? Is Tommy?" "Tommy's fine," Dr. Martinez said quickly, sitting down across from him. "Actually, Tommy's doing better than we ever hoped. His latest tests show that he's responding incredibly well to treatment." Michael felt relief wash over him. "That's amazing news." "It is, but that's not why I wanted to talk to you." Dr. Martinez folded her hands on the table. "I need to tell you something about Zara that I probably should have told you weeks ago." "What do you mean?" "When you first met her, you thought she was just visiting Tommy, didn't you?" "Yeah, until I found out she was sick too." Dr. Martinez shook her head. "Mr. Jordan, Zara isn't just sick. She's been my patient for almost a year. She was diagnosed months before Tommy." Michael felt confused. "I don't understand." She said Tommy got sick first. "No, Zara got sick first. When we found out Tommy had the same genetic condition, Zara asked us not to tell him. She didn't want him to know that she had been sick longer. She wanted him to think they were going through it together at the same time." "Why would she do that?" "Because she knew that if Tommy understood how much worse her condition was, he would blame himself. He would think he was the reason she couldn't get better." Michael's mind was racing. "But that's not true, right? Her condition isn't worse because of Tommy." Dr. Martinez was quiet for a long moment. "Mr. Jordan, there's something else you need to know. Something that makes this even more complicated." "What?" "There's an experimental treatment that has shown promise for this condition, but it's extremely rare and expensive. We only had enough for one patient." Michael felt like the world had stopped moving. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that when the treatment became available, we had to choose between giving it to Zara or giving it to Tommy. The treatment works better in younger patients. So medically, Tommy was the obvious choice. But Zara could have fought for it. She could have argued that she was there first. She could have, but she didn't. The moment she found out Tommy was sick too, she insisted that he get the treatment. She wouldn't even let us consider giving it to her. Michael stared at Dr. Martinez. She gave up her chance to get better so Tommy could have it. More than that, she used her intelligence to help us understand the treatment better. She read every research paper, consulted with doctors around the world, and helped us modify the protocol to make it more effective for Tommy specifically. You mean she helped create the treatment that's saving his life? Essentially, yes. Without her input, I'm not sure the treatment would have worked as well as it has. Michael felt like he was going to be sick. Does Tommy know any of this? No. And Zara made us promise never to tell him. She wants him to focus on getting better, not on feeling guilty about her sacrifice. So she's been dying this whole time, and she spent her final months making sure her little brother lives? That's exactly what she's been doing. And Mr. Jordan, there's one more thing. Michael wasn't sure he could handle one more thing. The treatment that's working so well for Tommy, the modifications Zara helped us make, they're going to help other children too. She essentially helped us create a better treatment protocol that could save hundreds of kids with this condition. Michael put his head in his hands. So she gave up her own life to save Tommy. And in the process, she figured out how to save other kids too? That's right. Her research notes are already being shared with children's hospitals around the world. And she never told me any of this. Because that's not why she did it. She didn't do it for recognition or credit. She did it because she loves her brother, and because she's the kind of person who can't help but try to make the world better. Michael looked up at Dr. Martinez. Why are you telling me this now? Because she's getting worse faster than we expected, and because I think she needs to know that someone understands what she's accomplished. She won't accept praise from me or the other doctors, but she might accept it from you. Michael stood up from the table. I need to see her. Mr. Jordan, one more thing. When you see her, she's going to be weak, but she's been asking for you. She says she has something important to tell you. Michael practically ran to Zara's room. She was lying in bed, hooked up to more machines than he had ever seen before. But when she saw him, she smiled. Mr. Jordan, perfect timing. I was just thinking about you. Zara? Dr. Martinez told me everything. Her smile faded slightly. Everything about what? About the treatment. About how you gave up your chance so Tommy could have it. About how you helped create the protocol that's saving his life. Zara looked embarrassed. She wasn't supposed to tell you that. Why didn't you tell me yourself? Because it doesn't matter. What matters is that Tommy's getting better. Michael sat down next to her bed. It matters to me, Zara, what you did. Giving up your own treatment. Using your last months to help save your brother and other kids. That's the most incredible thing I've ever heard. It's not incredible. It's just love. How can you say that? You sacrificed everything. Zara looked at him with those wise eyes. Mr. Jordan, can I tell you a secret? Of course. I didn't sacrifice anything. I chose the thing that made me happiest. Making sure Tommy gets to grow up and have adventures and fall in love and maybe have kids of his own someday. That makes me happier than any treatment could have. But what about your dreams? What about MIT? What about all the things you could have discovered? I did discover something. I discovered that love is the most powerful force in the universe. More powerful than gravity, more powerful than quantum mechanics, more powerful than anything. Michael felt tears running down his face. I don't understand how you can be so okay with this. Because I'm not dying, Mr. Jordan. I'm living. Every day I get to see Tommy get stronger is a day I'm truly alive. Every lesson I get to teach you is a day my life has meaning. But it's not fair. Fair isn't the point. Love is the point. And I've been lucky enough to love someone more than I love myself. Do you know how rare that is? Michael thought about his own life. All the things he had achieved. All the records he had broken. All the games he had won. None of it felt as important as what this 12-year-old girl had accomplished. Zara, what can I do? How can I help? You're already helping. You're learning the lessons I need you to learn. You're becoming the person Tommy's going to need when I'm not here anymore. What else? There has to be something else. Zara smiled weakly. Actually, there is one thing. Name it. Tomorrow is Tommy's 9th birthday. He doesn't know I probably won't be here for his 10th. I want to give him the best birthday party he's ever had. Done. Whatever you want. However big, however expensive. I don't want big or expensive. I want perfect. I want a day where he feels like the most loved kid in the world. What would make it perfect? I want you to play Amazing Grace on violin for him. I want the Bulls team to be there. I want cake and balloons and presents. But mostly, I want him to know that even when people have to leave, the love stays forever. Michael squeezed her hand gently. It's gonna be the most perfect birthday party ever. Promise? I promise. And Zara? Thank you. For what now? For showing me what a real hero looks like. Zara laughed softly. Heroes wear capes, Mr. Jordan. I'm just a big sister. No, Michael said. Heroes don't wear capes. They wear hospital gowns. And smile even when everything hurts. They give up their own dreams so someone else can have theirs. They teach people like me what really matters. You're going to make me cry, Zara said. Good, you've been making me cry for weeks. They sat together as the sun set outside her window. And Michael realized that tomorrow wasn't just Tommy's birthday. It was probably going to be Zara's last good day. And he was going to make sure it was perfect. The next morning, Michael arrived at the hospital at dawn. He had barely slept, spending most of the night on the phone organizing Tommy's birthday party. The hospital staff had agreed to let them use the big recreation room, and Michael had arranged for decorations, a cake, and enough presents to fill a small store. But first, he had something important to do. He found Zara in Tommy's room, helping her brother get dressed in his favorite shirt, a Bulls jersey with Michael's number on it. She looked weaker than yesterday, but she was smiling as she fixed Tommy's collar. "Happy birthday, buddy," Michael said, walking into the room. "Mr. Jordan." Tommy jumped up and hugged him. "Zara says you planned something special for me." "We planned something special," Michael corrected, looking at Zara. "Your sister did most of the work." "I just made a few suggestions," Zara said modestly. Can I see? Can I see what it is?" Tommy bounced with excitement. "After breakfast," Zara said firmly, "birthday boys still need to eat their vegetables." While Tommy ate, Michael pulled Zara aside. "How are you feeling?" "Like I want to make this the best day of Tommy's life," she said. "That's all that matters today." "Zara, I need to tell you something." "What?" Michael took a deep breath. "Last night, I called my lawyer. I'm setting up a foundation. The Zara Chen Foundation for Rare Childhood Diseases." Zara's eyes went wide. "Mr. Jordan, you don't need to." "Yes, I do. Your research is going to help kids all over the world. Your name should be on it. People should know what you accomplished. But I don't want people to feel sorry for me. They won't feel sorry for you. They'll be inspired by you. Just like I am." Zara was quiet for a moment. "What will the foundation do?" "Fund research for rare diseases like yours and Tommy's. Help families who can't afford treatment. And teach people what you taught me, that real greatness is about helping others." "That sounds perfect," she said softly. "But can I ask for one thing?" "Anything. Make sure Tommy knows that he's part of it, that his recovery is going to help other kids get better too. I want him to understand that his story matters." "I promise." After breakfast, they made their way to the recreation room. Tommy gasped when he saw what Michael and Zara had created. The room was filled with blue and red balloons, Bulls colors. There was a huge cake shaped like a basketball, and a table covered with wrapped presents. But the best part was the people waiting for him. The entire Bulls starting lineup was there, along with Mrs. Kim, Dr. Martinez, and all the nurses who had taken care of Tommy and Zara. Even some of the other kids from the hospital had been invited. "This is the best birthday party ever," Tommy shouted, running to hug each of the basketball players. "We have a special presentation for the birthday boy," Scottie Pippen announced. He handed Tommy a framed jersey with signatures from every player in the NBA. "This is from everyone in the league," Dennis Rodman explained. "They all wanted to wish our honorary team captain a happy birthday." Tommy stared at the jersey with tears in his eyes. "I can't believe this is really happening." "Believe it, buddy," Michael said. "You deserve all of this and more." They spent the next hour playing games, eating cake, and opening presents. Tommy got books and toys and games, but his favorite gift was a small basketball signed by the entire Bulls team. This is going to go right next to my bed, he told Zara, so I can see it every night before I go to sleep. That's perfect, Zara said, hugging him tight. Then Michael stood up. Tommy, there's one more present, but this one is from your sister. From Zara? But she already gave me that book about space. This is a different kind of present, Michael said. He walked over to the corner where Mrs. Kim had set up a music stand. He picked up his violin. Mr. Jordan, are you going to play music? Tommy asked excitedly. I'm going to try. Zara taught me that sometimes the most important gifts are the ones that come from the heart, even if they're not perfect. Michael positioned the violin under his chin. His hands were shaking slightly, and not just from nerves. This moment meant everything to Zara, which meant it meant everything to him. He began to play Amazing Grace. It wasn't perfect. There were a few scratchy notes, and his timing wasn't quite right in some places. But it was filled with love. Every note was played for Tommy, for Zara, for everyone in that room who had shown him what really mattered. When he finished, the room was completely silent. Then Tommy started clapping, and everyone else joined in. That was beautiful, Mr. Jordan, Tommy said, wiping tears from his eyes. That's the best present anyone's ever given me. Michael looked at Zara, who was crying too. It was your sister's idea, he said. She's the one who taught me how to play. Zara teaches everyone everything, Tommy said proudly. She's the smartest person in the world. Yes, she is, Michael agreed. As the party wound down and people started to leave, Michael found himself alone with Zara and Tommy. Tommy was playing with his new basketball, practicing his shooting form like Zara had taught him. Zara, Michael said quietly, there's something I need to ask you. What? If something happens to you, if you can't be here anymore, what do I tell Tommy? Zara watched her brother for a moment, seeing the joy and hope in his face. Tell him that love doesn't end when people go away. Tell him that I'll be with him every time he's brave, every time he's kind, every time he chooses to help someone else. What else? Tell him that his big sister was proud to know him, that watching him grow up was the greatest privilege of my life, and that he has everything he needs inside him to be amazing. Michael felt his throat getting tight. Zara, I don't know how to do this without you. Yes, you do. You've already learned everything you need to know. You know how to love someone more than yourself. You know how to be patient when someone is learning. You know how to keep promises even when they're hard. What if I mess up? Then you try again. That's what you taught me about violin, remember? Being bad at something is just the first step to being good at it. Tommy came running over to them. Zara, will you help me write thank you cards for everyone? I want to make sure they know how much today meant to me. Of course, buddy. That's a very thoughtful idea. As Tommy got paper and crayons, Zara pulled a sealed envelope from her pocket. Mr. Jordan, I have one more thing for you. What is it? A letter. But don't open it until after the Bulls win the championship. Promise me. Zara! What if? Promise me, she said firmly. Michael took the envelope. I promise. Good. And Mr. Jordan? Yeah? Thank you for learning violin. Thank you for understanding that some things are more important than being perfect. Thank you for letting me teach you. Thank you for choosing me to teach. Zara smiled, and even though she was tired and sick, she looked peaceful. I didn't choose you, Mr. Jordan. You chose yourself. The moment you stopped to help me pick up those books, you chose to be the kind of person worth teaching. As Michael watched Zara help Tommy write thank you cards, her small hand guiding his as he carefully formed each letter, he realized that this was what greatness actually looked like. Not championships or trophies or fame. This, love in action. Sacrifice that came from joy, not duty. Teaching that changed the world one person at a time. Tommy's birthday party had been perfect, but Michael knew that the real gift hadn't been for Tommy. It had been for him. Zara had given him one last lesson in how to live, how to love, and how to carry forward the most important things when the people who teach them to you can't be there anymore. Mr. Jordan? Tommy called out. In my thank you card to you, should I write about the violin? Or about how you're going to be my big brother now? Michael looked at Zara, who nodded encouragingly. Write about both, buddy, Michael said. Because both of those things are promises I'm going to keep for the rest of my life. 2 weeks after Tommy's birthday party, the Chicago Bulls were in the NBA Finals. It was the biggest series of Michael's career, but all he could think about was room 412 at Chicago Children's Hospital. Zara was dying. The doctors had moved her to a special room with more machines and round-the-clock nurses. She slept most of the time now, and when she was awake, talking was hard for her. But she still insisted on helping Tommy with his homework every afternoon, even if it was just listening to him read aloud. "Michael, you need to focus," Coach Jackson said during practice the day before Game 6. "I know what's happening at the hospital is difficult, but the team needs you present." "I know, Coach. I'm trying." "Are you? Because you missed 3 easy shots today and forgot 2 plays we've been running all season?" Michael knew Coach Jackson was right. His body was on the basketball court, but his mind was with a 12-year-old girl who was fighting the hardest battle of her life. "Maybe I should sit this one out," Michael said. "Is that what she would want you to do?" Michael thought about Zara's words. The biggest challenges are the ones where you don't know how the story ends. She wouldn't want him to quit. She would want him to play, to fight, to remember everything she had taught him. "No," he said. "She'd want me to play like everything depends on it." "Then do that. Play for her." The next evening, Michael stood in the tunnel before Game 6, holding his basketball and thinking about violin lessons, about quantum physics and chess games and birthday parties, about a girl who gave up MIT to take care of her brother. Before he ran onto the court, he had visited the hospital. Zara was barely awake, but she had squeezed his hand and whispered, "Play beautiful music tonight." Now, as 20,000 fans screamed his name, Michael thought about what Zara had taught him. Basketball wasn't just about winning. It was about making your teammates better. It was about playing with heart, not just skill. The game was brutal. The other team was playing aggressive defense, and Michael's shots weren't falling like they usually did. By halftime, the Bulls were down by 12 points. In the locker room, Michael's teammates looked defeated. "We're not playing like a team," Scotty said, frustrated. "We're all trying to be heroes individually." Michael thought about Zara's words. "A violin can't make music by itself. It needs someone to touch it, to care for it, to bring it to life." "She's right," Michael said. What? Dennis looked confused. "Sorry, I was thinking about something someone taught me. Listen, we're playing like violins trying to make music alone. But music happens when instruments work together." "Michael, what are you talking about?" Steve Kerr asked. Michael stood up. "I'm talking about playing for each other instead of for ourselves. I'm talking about remembering that the goal isn't to be the best player on the court. The goal is to help your team win." "Okay, so what does that mean?" It means I stop trying to score every point and start helping you guys score. It means we play like we love each other, not like we're trying to prove something." His teammates stared at him. This wasn't the Michael Jordan they knew. The old Michael would have demanded the ball and tried to win the game single-handedly. "You sure about this?" Scotty asked. "A very smart person once told me that greatness isn't about being the best. It's about making others better." In the second half, Michael played differently. Instead of forcing difficult shots, he passed to open teammates. Instead of trying to do everything himself, he set screens and played defense and celebrated when other people scored. With 5 minutes left, the Bulls had taken the lead. With 2 minutes left, they were up by 8. With 30 seconds left, they had won the championship. As confetti fell from the ceiling and his teammates hugged him, Michael felt something he had never felt after winning before. Peace. Not the aggressive satisfaction of beating someone else, but the quiet joy of helping his team succeed. During the celebration on the court, a reporter stuck a microphone in his face. "Michael, how does it feel to win your 4th championship?" Michael looked up at the stands, thinking about a hospital room miles away, where a girl might be watching on TV if she was strong enough. "It feels like I finally understand what winning really means," he said. "What do you mean by that?" "I mean, winning isn't about proving you're better than someone else. It's about becoming the person you're supposed to be." After the celebration, Michael drove straight to the hospital. It was almost midnight, but the nurses let him in. Tommy was asleep in the chair next to Zara's bed, still wearing his Bulls jersey. Zara's eyes were closed, but when Michael sat down, she opened them slightly. "Did you win?" she whispered. "We won." "How did it feel?" "Different. Better. Like I was playing your kind of music." Zara smiled weakly. "I'm proud of you." "Zara, I need to tell you something." "What?" You changed my life. Before I met you, I thought basketball was the most important thing in the world. Now I know better. What's the most important thing? Michael looked at Tommy sleeping peacefully, then back at Zara. Love, taking care of people, using whatever gifts you have to make someone else's life better. Good answer. Zara, there's something else. The foundation we talked about, it's real now. We've already raised enough money to help 50 families pay for treatment. And the research you did, 3 more children's hospitals are using your protocols. Zara's eyes filled with tears. Really? Really? Your work is going to save lives, Zara. Lots of lives. That makes me happy. They sat quietly for a few minutes. Michael could hear the machines beeping and Tommy's gentle breathing. Mr. Jordan? Zara's voice was so soft, he had to lean close to hear her. Yeah. Remember what I told you about quantum entanglement? How particles stay connected no matter how far apart they are? I remember. You and Tommy are entangled now. And you and I are too. Distance won't change that. Time won't change that. I know. Promise me you'll remember that when you miss me. I promise. Zara closed her eyes, but she was still smiling. Thank you for learning violin. Thank you for playing beautiful music tonight. Michael stayed until dawn, watching Zara sleep and listening to Tommy's quiet breathing. Outside the window, he could see people starting their normal days, going to work, walking their dogs, buying coffee, living their lives without knowing that one of the most extraordinary people in the world was fighting her last battle just a few floors above them. When the morning nurse came to check on Zara, Michael quietly woke Tommy. Hey, buddy. How are you feeling? Tommy stretched and yawned. Good. Did you really win the championship last night? We did. I knew you would. Zara said you were going to play different than usual. She said you were going to play like you finally understood the secret. What secret? Tommy looked at his sleeping sister with pure love in his eyes. The secret that basketball is just like life. You win when you help other people win too. Michael ruffled Tommy's hair. Your sister is the smartest person I've ever met. I know, Tommy said proudly. She taught me everything I know about being brave. As Michael left the hospital that morning, he realized that winning the championship felt different because he was different. Zara had taught him that trophies and rings and MVP awards were just objects. The real victory was becoming someone worthy of the love and trust that people placed in you. He thought about the sealed letter in his pocket, the one Zara had made him promise not to open until after they won. Tonight, when he got home, he would finally read her final lesson. But somehow, he already knew what it would say. Because Zara had been teaching him all along, and the most important lessons weren't written in letters. They were written in the way you treated people, in the way you used your gifts to lift others up, in the way you loved someone enough to let them change who you were supposed to be. 3 days later, Michael sat in his living room at 2 a.m., staring at the championship trophy on his coffee table. The celebration parties were over, the interviews were done, and the city had finally gone quiet. But he couldn't sleep. Zara had passed away that morning. It happened peacefully, just like she had lived. Tommy had been reading her a story about space adventures, and she had smiled and closed her eyes, and simply left. Dr. Martinez said it was the most gentle passing she had ever seen. Michael had been there within minutes. He held Tommy while the 8-year-old cried. And he made sure Zara looked peaceful and beautiful, just like she would have wanted. Then he kept his promise. He took Tommy home with him for the night, making sure the boy wasn't alone. Tommy was sleeping now in Michael's guest room, clutching the basketball the Bulls team had signed for his birthday. Before bed, he had looked at Michael with red eyes and said, "She's still with us, right? Like she promised?" "She's still with us," Michael had assured him. Always. Now, sitting alone in the dark, Michael pulled out the envelope Zara had given him. His hands shook as he opened it. Inside was a letter written in her careful handwriting, along with something else that made his breath catch. A newspaper clipping from 6 months ago. The headline read, "Local girl genius accepted to MIT at age 12. But it wasn't the headline that shocked Michael. It was the photo. It was Zara standing in front of a computer, smiling at the camera. But she looked completely healthy. Her cheeks were full, her eyes were bright, and there was no sign of the illness that would soon take her life. The date on the newspaper was from before Tommy got sick. Before she got sick. Michael's hands trembled as he read the letter. Dear Michael, by the time you read this, you'll know the truth about my condition. But here's something you don't know yet. I lied to you about something important. I didn't just happen to bump into you that day in the hospital hallway. I chose you. 6 months ago, when I first got my diagnosis, I did what I always do when faced with a problem. I researched. But I wasn't just researching medical treatments. I was researching you. I read every interview you'd ever given. I watched hours of game footage. I studied your career, your personality, your history. I learned about your competitive nature, your drive to be the best, and most importantly, your capacity for growth. You see, I knew from the beginning that my condition was terminal. The doctors gave me maybe a year, probably less. I also knew that Tommy would eventually get sick too. The genetic markers were all there. But here's what the doctors didn't know. I had a plan. I realized that my intelligence, my IQ of 230, not 210 like I told you, could be used for something much more important than winning Nobel Prizes. I could use it to find the one person who had the platform, the influence, and the heart to carry my message to millions of people. That person was you. I spent weeks planning our accidental meeting. I knew your charity schedule. I knew which hallway you'd walk down, and I knew exactly what time you'd be there. I scattered those physics books on purpose, Michael. I made sure you'd have to stop and help. Everything I did after that, the violin lessons, the chess games, the birthday party, it was all designed to teach you the most important lesson in the world, that greatness isn't about personal achievement. It's about how much you lift others up. I knew that if I could change you, you would change countless others. Every interview you give from now on, every young athlete you mentor, every sick child you visit, you'll remember what I taught you about what really matters. My IQ told me this plan would work. My heart told me it was worth trying. Tommy doesn't know any of this, and he never should. In his mind, his big sister fought as hard as she could and loved him until the end. That's true, but it's not the whole truth. The whole truth is that I used my final months to conduct the most important experiment of my life, proving that one person's wisdom can ripple through millions of lives when taught to the right messenger. You were my messenger, Michael, and you were perfect. I know this might make you angry. You might feel used or manipulated. But please understand, everything I told you about love being more powerful than knowledge was true. Everything I taught you about making others better was real. My feelings for you and Tommy were genuine. I just also happened to be smart enough to know that love needs strategy to change the world. The violin lessons taught you humility. The birthday party taught you sacrifice. Tommy taught you unconditional love. And I taught you that intelligence without kindness is worthless. Now you're going to take these lessons and share them with everyone you meet. You're going to create foundations that help sick children. You're going to mentor young athletes differently than anyone has before. You're going to show the world that heroes aren't defined by what they achieve, but by what they give. You're going to prove that my experiment worked. Tommy is going to be fine. The treatment I helped develop has a 90% success rate for his age group and condition. He's going to grow up, knowing that basketball stars can have the biggest hearts, and that being loved is more important than being perfect. One last thing. I never told you my real reason for choosing violin. Yes, it's because instruments need each other to make beautiful music. But it's also because a violin can create the most beautiful sound in the world, but only when someone who cares takes the time to learn how to play it properly. You are my violin, Michael, and I spent my final months teaching you how to make the most beautiful music possible. Thank you for letting me teach you. Thank you for learning. Thank you for proving that even the greatest athlete in the world can become something even better, the greatest human being he can be. Watch over Tommy. Love him like he's your own brother. And remember, we're quantum entangled now. Every kind thing you do, I'll feel. Every life you change, I'll be part of. Your teacher, your friend, and now your guardian angel, Sarah. P.S. The foundation you're creating? It's going to help over 10,000 children in the next decade. I've already done the math. Michael read the letter 3 times before the words fully sank in. Zara hadn't just been teaching him random lessons about life. She had orchestrated everything. She had chosen him, studied him, and then systematically transformed him from a great athlete into something more, a great human being. She had used her extraordinary intelligence not to cure her own disease, but to cure something bigger, the disease of selfishness that prevented people from reaching their full potential for goodness. Michael thought back to every conversation, every lesson, every moment they had shared. The accidental meeting, the carefully chosen violin challenge, the way she had shared just enough of her story to make him care without overwhelming him, the birthday party that taught him how to make others feel loved. It had all been planned. Every single moment. And yet, it had all been real too. Her love for Tommy was genuine. Her kindness to other children was authentic. Her friendship with Michael was true. She had just been smart enough to know that even love needed a strategy to change the world. Michael looked at the championship trophy again, but now it looked different. It wasn't just his trophy anymore. It was Zara's too, because she had taught him how to win it the right way, by making his teammates better instead of trying to dominate them. He thought about all the interviews he would give, all the young athletes he would mentor, all the sick children he would visit. In every single one of those moments, he would remember Zara's lessons. He would teach what she had taught him. Her experiment had worked perfectly. Michael picked up his phone and called the hospital. "Dr. Martinez? It's Michael Jordan. I want to expand the foundation." "Yes, much bigger. I don't care what it costs, because a very smart girl once told me that love needs strategy to change the world, and I think she was right." When he hung up, Michael walked to the guest room where Tommy was sleeping. The boy looked peaceful, surrounded by Bulls memorabilia and the basketball signed by the team. "I'll watch over him," Michael whispered into the darkness. "I'll teach him everything you taught me, and I'll make sure he knows his big sister was the smartest person who ever lived." As he stood there, Michael realized that Zara's greatest lesson wasn't about humility or love or sacrifice. It was about the fact that even death couldn't stop someone from changing the world if they were smart enough to plan for it. She had given up her own future to secure Tommy's recovery and to transform Michael into someone who would impact millions of lives. She had turned her final months into the most important teaching experiment in history, and it had worked. Michael smiled through his tears. Tomorrow, he would start the next phase of his life, not as just a basketball player, but as Zara's messenger. He would carry her lessons to everyone he met, and through him, her wisdom would ripple outward like quantum entanglement, connecting and changing lives across the world. She had been right about everything. Love was more powerful than knowledge. But when you combined love with intelligence and strategy, you could literally change the universe. Michael Jordan had met a girl with a higher IQ than Einstein. What happened next shocked everyone, including him. She had transformed the greatest basketball player in the world into something even greater, a teacher of love, a messenger of hope, and living proof that the most important victories happen not on courts or fields, but in the hearts of the people we choose to lift up. The experiment was complete. The student had become the teacher, and Zara Chen's legacy would live forever. And that's how a 12-year-old girl with a genius mind taught the world's greatest athlete that true greatness isn't about being the best. It's about making others better. Zara's experiment worked perfectly. Today, the Michael Jordan Foundation has helped over 50,000 sick children, and Michael still visits hospitals every month. He tells everyone he meets about the girl who changed his life by showing him that love is more powerful than fame. Where are you listening from right now? Drop your city or country in the comments below. I love seeing how far these stories of kindness travel around the world. If Zara's story touched your heart like it touched mine, please hit that like button and subscribe to spread more kindness. Every subscription helps us share more incredible true stories that remind us what really matters in life. And speaking of amazing stories that will inspire you, there's another incredible video appearing on your screen right now about someone who changed the world in the most unexpected way. Click on it and let's keep learning about the power of love and kindness together. Thanks for listening, and remember, you never know when you might meet someone who will change your life forever. Be kind to everyone you meet. They might just be your greatest teacher.